Good evening everyone. Welcome to Abhiram IAS Academy. This is Pavani Reddy Palla. I'm here to discuss the Daily Chronicle series. Okay, so let us discuss all the important articles in the Hindu newspaper. So in the first page, we have this one important article related to the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and one election commissioner. Okay, so Gyanesh Kumar named CEC after panel meeting. Okay, and also the Haryana Chief Secretary Vivek Joshi has been appointed as election commissioner. Okay, so you have to remember that the Election Commission of India is headed by a team of 3, where there is one chief election commissioner and also 2 election commissioners. Okay, so the chief election commissioner as of now is the Gyanesh Kumar, and the election commissioner appointed is Vivek Joshi, and there is another election commissioner. He is Sukhbir Singh Sandhu. Okay, he is appointed last year. So this is the team which is leading the election commission, which plays a very prominent role in the conduction of elections in this Indian democracy. So let us go into the details, and there is one controversy related to their appointment. So let us study all of those. So the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commission has been made based on the legislation, the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners appointment, conditions of service, Term of Office Act 2023. So what is the background of this legislation? So the background was that Supreme Court judgment on March 2nd, 2023 in Anup Baranwal versus Union of India case. So in this historic case, the Supreme Court has directed the Union government to make a legislation which includes the selection committee where it includes the Prime Minister, head of the government, and it includes the leader of opposition party, okay, and also the Chief Justice of India. Okay, so earlier what was the procedure? There was the appointment of the election commissioners based on the recommendations of Union government. But since the Election Commission plays a very important role in conduction of elections to the world's largest democracy, so based on this judgment, the Union legislature has drafted and passed this legislation, namely the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners appointment, conditions of service, and Term of Office Act 2023. Okay, so according to this legislation, we have 2 important committees. Number 1, it is the Search Committee, and number 2, it is the Selection Committee. The Search Committee is headed by the Law Minister. This committee identifies all the potential eligible candidates. So what is the eligibility for the person to become election commissioner or chief election commissioner? It is nothing but that person should already hold or should be currently holding the secretary to central government. Okay, so this is the eligibility. Secretary to central government. Okay, so then all the eligible candidates list is being sent to the selection committee, which includes the Prime Minister, the leader of opposition, and the Union Cabinet Minister. Okay, so Union Cabinet Minister. But we can notice one important difference between the Supreme Court direction and the legislation. What is that? According to Supreme Court, the selection committee should include the Prime Minister, the leader of opposition, and the Chief Justice of India, CJI. So this is the important difference in the legislation and the Supreme Court judgment. So this question is being raised by the opposition now. Why? Because in this committee we see the clear dominance of the ruling party, where the Prime Minister and the Union Cabinet Minister have domination over the decision. So in the appointment of Gyanesh Kumar, the committee members were Sri Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, he is the leader of opposition party, and there was the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah. So Amit Shah and Narendra Modi, being from the single common party, their decision is holding weightage. So this was the controversy relating to this act. So you have to have a basics about this important act, because it is a recent act which came into force in 2023. Okay. So other important facts you have to remember about the Election Commission is Article 324. So it gives powers to the Election Commission to conduct its roles and responsibility in the democratic process. Okay. The retirement age of the election commissioners or the chief election commissioners is 65 years or 6 years of service, whichever is earlier. Okay, so whichever is earlier, they will either retire at 65 years of age or after completion of the 6 years of term. So their service conditions, their salary, etc. are similar to the Supreme Court judge. So this will be a potential question in the prelims point of view. Okay. So the election commissioners are similar to the Supreme Court judges. Their removal or their salaries or their conditions of service, etc. everything is similar to the Supreme Court judge. So these are some important facts you have to remember about the election commissioners. Okay. Next important article is regarding the bird flu. So in the front page we have this article, bird flu scare. So the poultry markets in the city hit ahead of the Ramzan season and the mutton in demand. So we have to see this article in two views. One is related to the science and technology and the other one is related to the economy point of view, where the poultry industry is facing losses and there is huge demand for mutton. Okay. So let us have the brief discussion about the basic details of bird flu. Okay. So bird flu is a avian influenza virus which is a pathogenic organism. Means what? It is a disease causing organism. When was the first outbreak? It is in China in around 1996. So from then onwards, it has been spread across almost every continent, including Antarctica. Mainland of Antarctica was also affected by this virus. Okay, so this virus is mainly affecting the birds and the wildlife. So what about humans? So the humans are rarely contracting the virus. So the risk is very rare. Okay. So the risk is very rare. So how the humans are able to contract the virus? By the direct contact between the birds and the wildlife, infected birds and wildlife. Because of the direct contact only, humans are able to attract the disease. Okay. So this article says that Ramzan season is going to begin from around Feb 28th. Okay. In the Ramzan season, generally, there is a increasing trend of consumption of non-vegetarian delicacies such as the halim or the biryanis or any other things across the globe. So, in this background, the chicken consumption locally, especially in the Telugu states, has been reduced tremendously. So now there is huge demand for the mutton. Okay. So already the poultry industry is facing severe losses. and we have huge demand for the increase for the mutton. Okay, so according to the article, it says that the prices of the mutton are going to skyrocket. So it would be around 1000 to 1500 per kg. So here we have to understand the relation of the demand, supply and the inflation. Because of the reduced consumption of chicken and increased demand for the mutton, there is going to be a huge inflation in the mutton prices. Okay, so coming to the next important articles. So the next important article is the article related to the international relations, where the headline says top Russian US official set to begin Ukraine talks in Riyadh. Okay, so first of all, where is Riyadh? Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia. Okay, so we all know about the ongoing conflict or the war between the Russia and Ukraine, which has begun in February 2022. So it's been almost 3 years of the ongoing conflict. Okay, so now US and the Russian top officials are going to have a meeting in Saudi Arabia, where they are going to discuss about their agenda, which includes the agenda includes of restoring the complex US and Russia relationships. So we all know that after the two world wars, we have two important power centers. One is the West, which is headed by US, and the other one is the East, which is headed by Russia. So from then onwards, we see a Cold War situation happening between the Russia and the US. Okay, so now in this conflict also, Ukraine is backed by US. So the indirect war is between the US and the Russia. So now these officials are going to sit and talk about the restoration of the Russia-US relationships and also to conclude a settlement for the Ukrainian issue. Okay. So coming to the next important article, in the editorial page, we have the headlines, lighten the pollution burden of the thermal power states. So according to this author, he says that around 73% of the energy is from the conventional sources, the so-called coal, and 1.5% of energy is from oil and natural gas. Okay, so almost around 74.5% is from the conventional energy sources. So he talks about the shift from the conventional to the renewable sources. So one important step taken by India to fight the climate change is the ratification of the national NDC, nationally determined contributions. So what is nationally determined contributions? So it is a part of the Paris Agreement. So what is this? So it is the output of the COP21, which has happened in 2015. Okay, so the output or the result of COP21 is the Paris Agreement, which primarily aims to reduce the greenhouse gases as well as to combat the climate change. So according to the Paris Agreement 2015, we have ratified the nationally determined contributions. So what is nationally determined contributions? They are the actions or the targets which has kept by ourselves to combat the climate change and the greenhouse gases. So to reduce the greenhouse emissions as well as to fight against the climate change, we have set our own targets. This is how we are going to plan. This is how we are going to strategize our vision. Okay, so this is the nationally determined contributions of India. So let us see what are the targets we have kept. So we have kept two different types of targets, that is 2013 target as well as the 2070 target. So the 2030 targets are to reduce the emission intensity of GDP by 45% from 2005 levels. So example 2005 levels, we have 100 units of emission. Then now by 2030 we are going to reduce it by 45%. So we are going to make it 55 units. So this is one of the target, number one. And number two is achieve 50% of installed electric power from non-fossil fuel. So that is through the renewable sources. So we have the solar, wind, nuclear energy, hydro, etc. all which will come under the non-fossil fuels. Next, to create a carbon sink. Carbon sink means absorption of the carbon dioxide, that is called as carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent through forest or other vegetated areas. So it can be by the creation of the forest or other types of vegetation, we are going to reduce the carbon dioxide by 2.5 to 3 billion tons. And develop climate resilient infrastructure. So the infrastructure should be able to withstand the vagaries or withstand the disasters of the climate change. So these are the targets we have kept to achieve by 2030. So within 5 years we should be able to do these things. Okay, next, so the 2070 agenda is to achieve carbon neutrality. So what is this term carbon neutrality? So carbon neutrality is equal to carbon, so all the carbon dioxide that is emitted is equal to the carbon absorption, that is sinking, then that is called as carbon neutrality. So by 2070 we are going to achieve the carbon neutrality. These are the targets which are set by the India through NDC as part of the Paris Agreement. So these are important facts which you have to remember. And other facts which are mentioned in the article. So according to the Central Electricity Authority, the highest non-renewable energy sourced electricity are from the states Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and the Gujarat. So the fossil fuel based electricity is produced from Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh number 2 and the third is Gujarat. Okay. Okay, the last important article in today's Hindi newspaper is related to the Places of Worship Act 1991. Okay, so the headline says that Places of Worship case put off, the center is yet to file the response. So this case is pending from the 4 years and the Supreme Court Chief Justice has asked the center to file a response against this act. Okay. So what are the key provisions of this legislation? What is the controversy? Let us see. So number one, the important provision is to maintain status quo as of 1947. So by the time of independence, so all the places of worship has to be maintained a status quo. Okay. So the temple should remain a temple. So this status cannot be changed. And the second important provision is the bar on new claims. So no one can alter it, no one can convert or claim ownership of any place of worship. So based on the past historical claims. So quoting any historical references, no one can alter or claim the ownership of a particular place of worship. So this is the second important provision. And number 3 is the legal protection. So any pending cases regarding the religious sites except the Babri Masjid dispute, all the other cases will be dismissed. So this is the legal protection provided to the places of worship under this act. Next, the punishment for violations. Okay, so what will be the punishment? It is up to 3 years and fines for violating the Places of Worship Act 1991. So these are key important provisions which we need to remember. So the status quo as of independence, okay, Indian independence, and we have the no new claims are entertained. Third one is the legal protection. to the places of worship, and we have the punishments for violations. So what are the implications? So because of this, the communal tensions has been increased. So because these revisiting the religious site disputes will lead to communal tensions and unrest. Next, legal precedent. So what does this mean? So if the Supreme Court strikes off this act, then the historical claims can come into act. Okay, so the people will claim the places of worship. So they may be claiming that on a mosque there is a temple built upon, or on a temple there is a church built upon, etc. So such type of claims will come into action and impact on secularism. So in India, the government is responsible for maintaining the secular fabric of the country. So this commitment may get affected. Next, the political sensitivity. So the politicians are unpopularly known for their communal vote politics. So they may use this issue for their fetching the votes. So this is again important issue. So these are the complications regarding the Places of Worship Act 1991. Okay, so these are the important articles in today's Hindu newspaper. Let us continue our class tomorrow. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to Abhiram IAS Academy. Thank you.